Hi, Get UNSTUCK Nation. Today we have a very interesting topic about outsourcing that it may change your mind of how you're outsourcing currently. So let me introduce Noel Andrews. He is a CEO of JobRack, and for his more than 15 years of recruiting and leading the teams, he will show you today the different perspective of outsourcing of what we know in the big market currently and what you can do, what you may be able to do better. Thank you so much for joining Get UNSTUCK Radio today, Noel.
Hey, no worries, Mutita. Great to be here.
Yeah. So before we get to the sweet spot of outsourcing, but can I ask you something about your background, how you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, of course. So I kind of think from like a really young age, like, I don't know, kind of 6 or 7, I was always looking for extra ways to, make pocket money and kind of do extra jobs, and got my first computer, and I used to print leaflets out and kind of distribute those around, and just went through a whole bunch of different things. So I think I had it was in my blood from the start. I went into a very kind of corporate type career into kind of technology and IT leadership roles. But always knew I wanted to do something for myself, and kind of just have that kind of drive to kind of make a difference and kind of run my own thing. Like so many people, discovered Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week. That opened my eyes to a couple of key things, especially around life is for living, and we kind of work to live, not the other way around. Kind of grew out from there. A few different opportunities. I did some interview coaching and ran a business there for a year or so, and then was into a community of some really great people, and kind of came across JobRack, and it had been running for a few years. It was either going to be kind of shut down or sold, because it was a bit of a side project compared to the main things that the previous owners were working on. And it was just kind of perfect timing, and so I bought JobRack, and that was just about 3 years ago this week, in fact. And so it's been an exciting time since then.
Oh, so what was the JobRack before then, before you become the CEO?
Yeah, so JobRack, it was very similar, but so it launched in 2015 as a job board and a hiring platform specifically to help online business owners hire great people from Eastern Europe. So, much like many people know, different areas of the world for kind of particular skills and niches, Eastern Europe is just a really great place to hire. A real balance of kind of great English language skills, very strong education, with lots of people having not 1, but even kind of 2 degrees. Very kind of robust infrastructure, like internet connections, and power infrastructure is really solid. No extreme weather, and just kind of really, how's the best way to describe it, trying to, without kind of being too stereotypical, there is a real good cultural alignment between people in Eastern Europe and people in kind of the Western world, which is where most of our customers are. And kind of really hardworking and kind of low cost of living. So that translates down into kind of really good value, whilst making sure that the kind of team members in Eastern Europe are getting paid really well as well.
Mm-hmm. So I used to live in UK, so I can feel that the time zone is smaller gap between outsourced to the Asian side and the Eastern Europe. What do you think it would be even more benefit to outsource to the Eastern European people? Apart from time zone and then the skill set, etc. Okay, let me ask you this question. In which industry people do outsource more to the Eastern European, between service provider versus e-commerce?
So I don't think it's kind of either. I think what we tend to see is that a lot of business owners, maybe kind of 10 years ago, right, they started their outsourcing journey, and oftentimes, especially if they were based in the US, right, so a lot of my customers, probably 70 or 80% are out in the US, and a lot of the time they couldn't afford to hire locally. And the most well-known place in the world back then to outsource was the Philippines, right? Philippines or India, maybe. And so they would go out to that region of the world. And there's some great, let's be clear, there are great people in every country in the world, but there are some differences between them. And so in some cultures, it is kind of very common to get people that will do the tasks that you want them to do, but they are more common that they're going to follow SOPs, right? And they're going to follow the instructions, and they're going to follow tasks. Getting people that can kind of take on management positions or kind of think creatively or challenge you, especially, that's a little bit more rare. And so what we tend to find now is I get a lot of people coming to me that have got a team in the Philippines, or they've got a few people out there, but they now want a kind of different level of person for different roles, maybe slightly more senior, or they just want some more independent thinking. So people that are going to challenge, people that are going to have like really, really direct communication style and kind of just think through things for themselves and just need less direction. And so that's a really big thing for us right now, being able to find really high quality people that can kind of think for themselves and really kind of make things better, and have that kind of, I guess, creativity and kind of independence that, you know, in some of the other cultures kind of around the world, it's just less common to find that. It's more common to find people that kind of, will do an amazing job, but just kind of following the things that you ask them to do, rather than kind of being able to take that kind of initiative to improve things.
Yeah. I always like going back to like how the level of team members, let's say those who are the followers who really follow your assignment or your SOP versus those who really proactive and do initiative things, like that's pretty hard. And I do have to wait a lot before I found these people though.
Yeah, that's our sweet spot. And that's something that in Eastern Europe, particularly, what we find is, they've gone through hard times, right? Like 20 years ago, a lot of these countries were kind of at war with each other, right? They've seen real hardship. And so as a result, that kind of has bred a real work ethic, right? And a real desire for people to succeed and work hard and kind of do better and earn more money. And at the same time, they're just culturally, they're very direct, which to us, softly spoken kind of Westerners, sometimes that can be a little bit surprising. Kind of, it can be very, very almost blunt. But once you get used to it, it's fantastic because they just tell it to you straight, exactly how it is. And it is really, really good.
Yeah. You have to need to assume things or like double thinking whether they're telling the truth or not, or like, yeah, I know what you mean. So in terms of outsourcing though, in your experience, normally, let's say about the higher rank or higher level of team members, like the senior or the management level, that also able to outsource. If anyone who listening to here not knowing that, you have to need to work at the same place all the time. So what would be your tips in case they want to find like a senior or management level in terms of like leading the team or able to cope with the organization, as well as fast learning with the culture as well?
This episode is sponsored by Mutita Clothing, like what I'm wearing right here. So if you are a petty-sized lady who are looking for high-quality apparels as well as a neat cutting and premium pattern, check it out at mutitaclothing.com so that you can be simply elegant by no time. Let's get back to the episode.
So the most important thing is to be really clear on what you want. And what we see quite a lot is business owners, like, they get desperate to hire, right? And they normally come to hire someone a bit too late, right? Maybe weeks or months after they really ideally should have done. So they're under pressure, they're under stress, and they need to find someone. And the biggest thing we do is just slow them down just a little bit and say, hey, let's get really clear on what you need and what you want, not just for right now, but also for 6 to 12 months in the future, or even a couple of years into the future. What do you need them to grow them into? So most important thing is, be really, really clear on what you want them to do. Make sure you kind of get some help in terms of, finding the right place, people. You've got to go to the right place to find where the people you need are hanging out at the right level with the right skills. And that can be that can still be a relatively entry-level role. It could be a virtual assistant or an executive assistant, but you want someone that's going to be a leader in that role, right? And take things really off your plate. Or it could be a manager, or it could be an operations manager, or even into like a COO type role. It's just crucial to think about, what do you want them to do? How are you going to measure them? So how will you know that they've been successful, right? That's super, super important. And what skills and experience do you need them to have? What are the must-have things you need? And then you've got things like, do you need them to be in a particular time zone, in a particular geography or location, have access to certain things? What's important to you? And then finally, it's that, what kind of person, attitude, kind of culture side of things, is going to complement your business, but also fit in with you and the rest of the team as well.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned about the, I just lost in my train of thought. Okay, let's jump to this part first. I was thinking about, what about a benefit? So this is somehow have like two school of thought in my experience that I have seen. One is that, oh, you already outsourced, so they are not considered as your employee, therefore you have no need to care about that. On the other hand, me, for example, I do pay for the insurance, so I know over there they already have the social how to say that, the social system that
like
they already have.
And,
So in terms of outsourcing though, like from the rest of the world towards the Eastern Europe, what does that look like?
Yeah, so for pretty much every employer right now, so the kind of, you're running an online business, it might be Amazon FBA, Shopify e-commerce, service business agency, whatever kind of business you're running. If you are hiring remotely, and if you're hiring in another country from where you're located, you're almost certainly going to hire people as an independent worker, like a freelancer effectively. So that's the legal side of things. So you'd still have an agreement. You have like a service agreement normally that sets out clear expectations of what they're going to do, how much you're going to pay, how often you're going to pay them, things like that. And that's really important to set clear expectations. And so that's the legal side, right? That means they're not an employee and they're responsible for their own taxes and social security. But then we put the legal bit to one side and we say, right, for all other intents and purposes, right, day to day, you treat them like a team member, right? You don't treat them any differently from someone who, would be a full-time employee, and they probably are full-time, with a contract that you're paying, you're paying their taxes and national insurance as it is here in the UK, or social security in the US. You treat them the same. And that's what we specialize in. We work with businesses who want to hire long-term team members that are going to commit to them and their business. And so really, apart from that legal distinction, there is no difference, right? You should treat everybody equally. You should give them the same kind of allowances, whether it's holiday, whether it's benefits and, financial kind of bonuses, things like that, include them, because they are contributing as much, if not more, to your business than employees locally. That's where the benefit really lies. So the employers that we see do best out of remote working are the ones that really invest time in, building a real team. It just doesn't matter that they're not in the office together.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What about a turnaround candidates, turnaround talent? Do you experience that often? Like those who are talented? Of like
kind of turnover?
Yeah.
Very rarely. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So there's a lot of, the market is hot right now. Okay. The whole world has just discovered remote work over this last 18 months. And, yes, there's a lot of demand for hot talent. So the two things that, reasons why we don't see a lot of turnover. One is because we encourage our employers and my clients, kind of the people that I work with, to take care of their team, right? Invest in their team, invest time in them, invest training, budget, pay them well, pay them fairly, and give them opportunities to grow. And that is what most people want, right? The other reason is because actually what we find in Eastern Europe is that people generally want kind of long-term opportunities. They want to build a career. And so when they get the opportunity to work for, an international company that's kind of maybe in the US or the UK or, anywhere in the world, really, that they can grow and they can learn, then, they're very happy to commit for the long term. I'm building my own team here at JobRack, naturally most of it's based out in Eastern Europe. Absolutely fantastic team. And again, I'm very, very intentional when I hire that I'm looking for people that want to commit to the long term, interested in what we do. And then I do everything I can to take care of them, whether it's salary, whether it's, working through kind of some kind of treats for the team, gifts, but really it's less about the financial and much more about the time you spend with them, getting kind of, some sense of kind of vision and values and what's important to us, and having a good time, and making them feel like part of the team. That's what really makes the difference.
Yeah, I think this is something that I experienced so far. I mean, currently as well with my client, and also when looking back, when you just started, you want to build a culture, and then you look forward to have someone who go with you. And then when you get bigger and bigger, there are more gaps, and then the culture gets let's say distracted by other stuff like cash flow, because you have 4 staff to concern. What would you suggest in terms of remote team building? How the CEO or the business owner manage these expectations?
So I think one thing is to kind of try and get some help with it, right? So as a CEO or a business owner, hopefully you've got an assistant. If not, you need one. You should get in touch. Every business owner should have an assistant, even if it's just a few hours a day. And so get some help with it, right? There are things that, your team can do to help kind of keep these kind of things going. We do kind of things like, we always encourage people to check in on Slack when they start work. Doesn't matter when it is. It might be morning, afternoon, evening, but just check in and say, hey. We will very often ask kind of, what did they do at the weekend? Or what are they up to coming up? Or, what are they focused on today? So we kind of try and we succeed in kind of driving conversation about what's going on. The same as you would if you're in an office, getting a tea or getting a coffee, getting a cup of water, just trying to drive these kind of conversations. We have team meetings every week. And we are genuinely interested in each other and what we're doing, what we're working on, what we're doing in our personal lives. And how can we celebrate? How can we celebrate the wins and the aha moments and things like that? So just putting the effort into that and putting the time really. And there's very simple things you can do to help to get to know each other. So every time we have a new starter, we have a set of questions that we post in Slack that we all answer. And it's things like, where in the world are we? What do we do in our job day to day? What are our hobbies? What career did we want when we were growing up? What's something unusual about us that most people don't know? They're kind of the very normal kind of questions, but the fact that we do that and they change over time, which is really interesting to see, and just kind of provokes some conversation, provokes us to kind of have a chat about things. So just being intentional about it, right? You want to build a team. There are lots of ways that you can do remote team building events now. You can do quizzes and you can do kind of virtual escape rooms, all kinds of different things. It just starts with some effort and talk to the team. And a lot of time when you talk to your team and say, hey, how can we spend some more time together? Or how can we do something fun? What ideas have you got? And a lot of the time the team will do it for you. It doesn't need to be, another item on the CEO's to-do list.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree because like my motto is that to build a business that support your lifestyle and the team is a part of it. Like really do. They may be like your extended family already unknowingly. And it doesn't mean like this is personal stuff. This is professional stuff. However, it's integrated, right? As long as you are joyful and like happy working here, that's how you feel like you are sustainably success in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in case anyone want to work with you or follow you, where can they reach out to you then, Noel?
So the best place is head to the website, jobrack.eu. Got lots of details there. Or you can head to Connect with Noel. So that's connect with Noel, Noel.com. And details there. And if anyone's looking for kind of help with hiring or is curious about kind of getting some Eastern European help, then feel free to get in touch.
Sweet European help. Thank you so much for joining Get Unstuck Radio today, Noel.
Hey, no worries. Great to chat, Mutita. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe here or here. And this is the previous episode. Check it out. See you next time.